take revenge on the woman who picked on me since childhood and later stole my husband. I sold everything I had and turned myself into a shining beauty. Then I changed my name, quietly moved back to the city where Halle lived, and rented a house right next to hers. My revenge began. As a child, I looked plain, but I had top grades. Because of this, I became the target of the campus queen, Halle. She even dumped all my books into the mud. What's worse, she stuffed dirt into my shoes and told everyone to make fun of me. I could only squat by the sink, scrubbing hard, while my tears silently mixed with the water. This bad treatment lasted from elementary school to middle school. Every time I saw Halle from far away, I ran to hide, until one day I was wiping a desk when the most popular boy walked over. He gently helped me clean. For the first time, I felt warmth in my heart. Then he confessed to me. I panicked, lowered my head, and refused, saying, "I'm not cute, I only study." But as soon as I spoke, classmates jumped out from hiding. That so-called confession was only a prank designed by Halle. She wanted me to be humiliated in public. The laughter around me was endless. I tried to argue, but Halle threatened me. Fear made me keep apologizing. Luckily, the teacher came in time and stopped the cruel scene. Finally, I made it to college. There, I met Jihae, a senior from the astronomy club. We fell in love at first sight. Those nights, watching shooting stars together, were the happiest time of my life. After graduation, we naturally got married, but happiness was short. Soon after, he often stayed out, always saying he was working late. My gut told me something was wrong. I called his office, but his colleague said he had already gone home. To find out the truth, I hired a private detective. When I saw the report, I broke down completely. He was cheating, and the other woman was Halle. I rushed to Hwale's company. I told her to leave Jihae, or I would make it public, but she was arrogant. She dragged me aside and sneered, "Jihae betrayed you because you're useless." Then she turned to walk away. I chased after her. She knocked over a vase on purpose, fell to the ground and screamed that I pushed her. Security rushed over and grabbed me. She even blew me a mocking kiss. That moment I lost control. I fought hard, trying to reach her, but stronger arms held me down. I saw her twisted smile, and my screams tore through the hall. What hurt more was that Jihae chose her. He even agreed to leave with nothing. At that point, I could only let go. But rumors spread fast in the company. I was forced to quit my job. I deleted his contact and moved back to my hometown in silence. For half a year, I lived in despair. Until one day, while sorting mail, I found a wedding photo from Halle. In the picture, they were smiling sweetly. My anger exploded. I tore the photo into pieces like a madwoman. As I sank in pain, my eyes fell on a plastic surgery poster, and a thought struck me. If I changed my face, I could start my revenge. I spent all my savings and changed my face into a beautiful one, only to get revenge on the woman who hurt me since childhood and later stole my husband. My husband even knelt in front of me, begging for her, willing to leave with nothing. On the surgery table, the white cloth was lifted. A brand new face appeared in the mirror. From that moment, the old me is dead. I was Ito Jin, and the clover in my hand was my first step. To get close to my ex-husband, I applied at his favorite flower shop. With my new pretty face, I got the job easily. That day, he came to buy flowers. It was our first meeting after surgery. I was right in front of him, but he didn't recognize me. I put a clover in the bouquet and handed it with a smile. But he didn't know. Clover has another meaning: revenge. Back at my rental room, I moved the hanger. On the wall were photos of his affair, each one a scar on me. Through the telescope, I saw him and Halle still together. Her cruel smile I would never forget. But I knew the clover would become her nightmare. To get closer, I planned the first encounter. He was eating with coworker. I walked in with a dish, pretending my friend canceled, so I gave it to them. His coworker warmly invited me to join. It was my first time sitting so close to him. My heart was full of mixed feelings. After dinner, we walked the same way home. I started talking about astronomy. At once, his eyes lit up. He talked without stopping. That topic pulled us closer. I suggested a drink at the bar. He hesitated, afraid of Halle, but in the end, he agreed. We went to his usual bar. Just when we were talking happily, Halle showed up. It turned out he asked her to come because he was afraid she would get angry. My heart froze. I rushed into the bathroom. In front of the mirror, I almost broke down until another me appeared. She told me ugly me was dead. Now, there was only the beautiful Ito Jin. Her words killed my fear. I walked out with a fake smile. I flattered Halle. She believed it, even added my contact. Once she left, I dropped my smile. The bar owner Toritani blocked me. He said I must hate Halle. I denied it, but his eyes scared me. The next day, I had tea with Halle. She bragged about her 1 million followers. I forced a smile. When I asked how she met Ji Ping, she lied, calling her betrayal pure love. And she insulted me. I shook with anger, but kept calm on the surface. After tea, she asked me to pick a gift for her husband. I knew his taste and chose a simple tie. He liked it more than hers. She was jealous. One day my ex came to see me. He wore the tie I picked. I laughed inside. He said their anniversary was coming. I offered to help, to make it special. He agreed. We went to a cafe to plan. He even added my contact. On the day of the anniversary, I used a fake call to his company and kept him late. When he came home, with no gift in hand, Halle exploded. She cursed him for 3 hours. I watched from the dark, satisfied. The next day, he asked me why the gift never came. I pretended helpless and said the order failed because of bad signal. He said Halle was furious. I quickly apologized. Right then, Toritani appeared, took a photo, and blackmailed me to meet at night. I checked on him. He was only a bar owner. That night, he told me he wanted to team up because Halle often flirted with him. I was shocked, but I didn't say yes. The next day, I saw my ex upset, so I invited him to the planetarium. He hesitated for a moment, then agreed. As we looked at the stars, Halle ran to Toritani and shamelessly asked him to be her lover. Toritani played along, and they even exchanged contacts. On the way back, I threw myself into X's arms and tried to seduce him, but he refused, saying he couldn't betray Halle. I went back home, broken. Then I got a message from Toritani. He told me Halle was cheating. That message woke me up. My fire returned. I grabbed scissors, cut off my 20-year-long hair. I showed up with a new look. I told Toritani I would join him. Then I shared my plan. When Halle goes on a date with him, I would bring my ex to catch her. When her mask fell, I would be the one by his side, and my revenge had just begun. A married woman openly went on a date with a young man. She thought no one knew, but I was already waiting nearby. I asked her why she betrayed her husband. She panicked and pulled her hand away from Toritani and said they were only friends. Before she finished, Toritani made an excuse and ran. Halle tried to chase him, but I stopped her. Then I took her to the riverside. She still pretended to be calm and proud, but when I said I would tell her husband, she panicked and gave in at once. Tears came to her eyes, and she begged me to keep it secret. This was exactly what I wanted. I made my condition. I could keep the secret, but she must take her husband, and we all go camping together. She had no way out, so she agreed. At that time, Toritani had not gone far. He went straight to Wally's husband and told him everything. At first, Jihei did not believe it. Then Toritani showed their chat records on his phone. In that moment, Jihei was crushed and sat down on a stone. Toritani took the chance to explain. He said he had no feelings for Wally. He suggested they all go camping together. He would pretend to like me, so Wally would give up. Jihei agreed at once, not knowing he was stepping into my trap. On the camping day, everyone was busy. Only Wally did nothing like a princess. Jihei watched and felt helpless. During the barbecue, Toritani served meat to me. Wally got jealous and ordered Toritani to serve her too. Jihei swallowed his anger and looked away, but I knew the truth. His patience was the weakness I could use. Wally finally went to collect firewood, but she brought back wet sticks. Jihei told her to get dry ones. She got angry at once. I stepped in to smooth things over and shaved the wet sticks into thin petals and lit them easily. Jihei was impressed by me. After that, Wally gave up completely. She pushed all the work to me and went to play on her phone. Jihei saw everything and his dislike grew. I threw Wally's wet sticks into the river. Then I said the firewood was not enough and asked Jihei to go with me to collect more. On the way, I tested him on purpose. Could he trust leaving Wally alone at camp? He hesitated. Then I walked deeper into the forest, and he still chose to follow me. Everything was under my control. Meanwhile, Toritani apologized to Wally at the camp. She complained a little, but forgave him. She said her back hurt and asked him to massage her. Toritani teased her gently, and the air turned ambiguous in the woods. And I had already brought Jihei to a spot that looked down on the camp. I timed it so he could see the scene below. He froze when he saw it. I pretended to comfort him. I said maybe it was a mistake, but it only made him more uneasy. To create time alone with him, I threw away the battery of the flashlight on purpose. When night fell, I pretended the battery was missing. Then I pretended to fall. Jihei suggested we wait for help in an open spot. He did not know this was my plan from the start. heart. By the fire, Jihye fell into memories. He said he hurt his ex-wife to be with Wally. Now he was not sure if it was right or wrong. I asked at once if he could choose again, would he go back to his ex-wife? He stayed silent, and it made me angry. Scenes of his affair flashed in my mind. Then the old me in my head told me to stay calm. I held back my anger and moved closer. I asked if he could accept a woman like me. Before he could answer, I took his hand and I kissed him quickly. I told him softly I would never let Wally know. His guard dropped at once. He held me tight and kissed me back. I took out my phone quietly and took secret photos of us. 2 hours later, Wally and Toritani came over. Wally pretended to care about Jihye, but she did not know his heart was already with me. My plan with Toritani ended perfectly, and my relationship with Jihye heated up fast. That night, I met Toritani to plan our next step. He agreed to help me fully. I was moved. After that, I dated Jihye often, but each time, he looked tired and torn. I knew it clearly. He wanted both sides. I felt only contempt. One night, Jihye asked Wally to watch the meteor shower. She refused coldly. He felt sad and invited me instead. He even asked to stay overnight. I froze for a second. He explained it was only to see the stars. Then I agreed. Then we came to a meadow. We lay on the grass like a normal couple. In the heat of the moment, he kissed me again. I took the chance to tell him I knew a perfect place to watch the shooting stars, but it required a trip far away. He understood at once and promised he would tell Wally the truth soon, and then we could be together openly. I leaned in his arms with quiet joy. I was one step closer to my goal. After we parted, I immediately went to Toritani and asked him to book a guest house under Jihye's name. The next day, Jihye lied to Wally and said he had a business trip. Then he left with me, heading to that meteor date. He did not know this trip would be the start of his nightmare. I wanted revenge on my cheating ex-husband, so I gave it my all. I turned myself from an ugly duckling into a shining beauty. I broke his marriage apart and used my looks as a trap. Finally, he fell right in. To see me in secret, he shamelessly took a long leave. He even lied to his wife Wally, saying he was on a business trip, but he never knew. His nightmare had already begun. We arrived in Yamanashi. He dropped his mask right away. He put his hand on my shoulder in public, like he wanted the whole world to know I was his. I forced a smile and made an excuse to the restroom. I wiped away the place he touched. Then I called my friend Toritani. It was time for the next step. On the mountaintop, I held my phone, pretending to take pictures, but my fingers sent Toritani a secret signal. He took out the complaint draft I wrote and called my ex-husband's company, pretending to be a customer. Normally, Jihye handled these cases, but he was on leave. When his co-workers didn't know what to do, Toritani threatened them, "If you don't fix it today, I'll expose it." In a rush, his co-worker had no choice but to call Jihye. A female co-worker reminded him to try his home phone first during private time, and the one who answered was Wally. The female co-worker was shocked to hear that Jihye was on leave but said to be on a business trip. But to protect his family, she didn't expose him. She hung up and called Jihye instead. At that time, he was still taking selfies with me. When he saw the call from his co-worker, he slipped aside to answer. After hanging up, he rushed back to me to apologize. He said there was an emergency at work, and he needed to go back right away. Back at the office, his co-workers were already full of anger. One co-worker said bluntly they would report his affair to the higher-ups. No matter how hard Jihye tried to explain, no one was willing to believe him. He returned home in a mess, lying that the company had urgent business, so he ended the trip early. But once he got to the balcony, he screamed in anger. He never thought a simple date would destroy his whole image. The next morning, his boss called him in. Because his affair damaged the company's reputation, the company gave him two choices. 1, take a demotion with a pay cut and work in a suburban branch. 2, resign immediately and find another job. He walked out with his head down. Co-workers gave him cold looks. When Wally found out, she didn't comfort him. Instead, she kept complaining. But then she realized if Jihye was transferred, she could openly stay with Toritani. So she put on a fake face, pretending to comfort him. But Jihye was not stupid. He thought about her affair with Toritani. Anger rushed through him. He shouted at Wally. I watched in the dark and felt nothing but joy. But my revenge was not over. When Jihye was broken, I showed up again. He hugged me tightly, but I pushed him away, saying we were too close to home. We went to the riverside. He told me he was sent to another branch. I acted like I cared, but inside, I was laughing. He whispered maybe quitting was better. That way, Wally would divorce him, and he could stay with me openly. I saw through his plan at once, and I quickly painted him a perfect plan. I said I was willing to go with him to the new company. He wouldn't need to quit. he wouldn't need a divorce, and we could keep seeing each other. He was touched and said he would follow my lead. The next day, he told his boss he'd go to the branch office. Wally pretended to be sad, but when he packed and left, she didn't even see him off and just went back to sleep. But I was different. I sent him to the station. He got emotional, hugged me tight, kissed me in public. He promised once he settled down, he'd bring me over. I nodded and agreed, but once he left, I wiped off his kiss in disgust. When he arrived at the branch, the gate was full of insults and graffiti. Villagers whispered about him behind his back. Because I had already spread his scandal anonymously, it had reached the whole community. I wanted him ruined. He scrubbed the wall all night. When he tried to call me, he found I had blocked him everywhere. I quit my flower shop job. From then on, I cut him off completely. I only needed to make a few final moves. Then I could make sure we would never see each other again. I asked Haruka out for dinner. I pretended to be scared. I said Jihei's co-worker was following me, so I had no choice but to quit and move away. I begged her not to tell Jihei. Wally believed me. She promised to keep the secret. From then on, Jihei's reputation was gone. All his connections were gone. In the end, he was left all alone. He could only cling to my photo to keep going. And me, I gripped his photo tightly. My revenge on him was complete. Now, it was Wally's turn to face her nightmare. She was the school beauty, and she always gave me a hard time back then. Back in school, just because my grades were better, she made my life miserable. After graduation, Wally looked pretty, but she never found the right man. One day, she walked into a place full of Japan's elite men. She looked around, but none caught her eye. Just as she was about to leave, she bumped into Jihei. He had a high-paying job and a handsome face. He was the perfect choice. She went up to him right away. From his nervous glance, she saw he was both honest and lustful. To win him over would be easy, but then she saw the wedding ring on his hand. Her excitement froze, yet such a good target, she could not let go, so she kept him as a backup. After spending more time together, she saw Jihei was very family-oriented. Curious, she asked about his wife. After her endless flirting, Jihei finally showed her a photo. The moment she saw it, she froze. The woman in the picture was me. The girl she used to bully had now become her biggest rival. She could not accept it. She was tall, beautiful, and charming, yet Jihei's wife was me, the plain one. Her jealousy exploded. She swore she would steal my husband. In the end, under her tricks and lies, Jihei left me, but soon she realized this man had money, but no romance at all. He was boring. Then one night, she met Toritani, a young and charming bar owner. She fell instantly. For him, she betrayed Jihei and even got him sent away to a rural branch. But what she never knew was that all of this was part of my revenge plan, and she was my next target. While Jihei was gone, I kept meeting with Wally. I stayed close to her on purpose. I knew her biggest weakness was vanity, and I planned to use it against her. The time came. I took her to Toritani's bar. With just one look, Toritani played along, saying his business was failing, and he needed our help to check out a rival bar. Wally hesitated, but after I pushed her, she agreed. She had no idea this was my trap. The next night, I dressed plain and waited outside. Wally showed up dressed to impress, glowing like a star. I showered her with compliments. She was thrilled. Inside the bar, 2 men came up to her right away. Then 3 more joined. She was drunk on the attention, spending money like water. Later, she saw my post online, photos of me surrounded by admirers. Her anger burned. To outshine me, she went on a shopping spree, buying clothes to impress even more men. But she didn't know all those admirers were just actors Toritani hired. Soon, she was fully addicted to their sweet talk. She even paid the bills with her credit card. But when the statement arrived, she collapsed in shock. She thought of her ATM, Jihei, but he was worse off than her. He had no money and even yelled at her. After that, he called me over and over, but I had already blocked him. One day, Wally met me, saying she was broke. I handed her a card, and I told her the man on it was hiring pretty women for high-paying part-time work. She was tempted. The next day, she met the agent. He was direct. The job was emotional companionship, basically keeping clients company, no other strings. At first, she hesitated, but when she heard the pay was 10,000 yen an hour, she agreed. Soon, a handsome client arrived. Wally was thrilled. After dinner, he handed her an envelope. Inside was 100,000 yen. Wally was overjoyed and asked for more clients. But what she didn't know was that this client was just a host Toritani hired, and the agent was someone I paid. Everything was under my control. I thought victory was near, but then I found a letter at my door. It exposed me as old me and warned me to stop my revenge or face the consequences. It was signed, "A person worried about your act." Who was this mysterious person? I went home and thought hard. Only Toritani and I knew about the revenge, and only I knew about the surgery. It couldn't be him. I showed him the letter. He looked shocked. It didn't seem like he would write. So I told him everything about the surgery, about Jihye, and my past. I confessed it all, but instead of blaming me, he shared his own secret. When he was young, he and his mother caught his father cheating. His father left them for another woman. His mom lost her mind, and one day, she was gone forever. Since then, he hated cheaters with all his heart. That's why he helped me. Since then, hearing his story, I was deeply moved. His past was even darker than mine. In that moment, a strange feeling grew between us, but our trouble was far from over. Toritani planned to expose the letter writer. He told me to keep meeting Halle while he watched in secret. But this mysterious person was cautious. No trace at all. Until one day, another letter appeared at the bar door. It warned us again to stop, or it would reveal everything to Jihye and Halle. Just then, Halle got a call from Jihye. He said he would be transferred back to headquarters next week. She quickly told me. At that moment, I panicked. If Jihye came back, my plan would be exposed. All my effort would be wasted. Now time was running out. I had to find this mysterious person, but who could it be? To pay off her huge credit card debt, Halle put on a maid outfit to meet a stranger. But she didn't know. It was all part of my trap. Just when I was feeling proud, Halle suddenly called me. Her husband was coming back. He would only stay 3 days, but enough to ruin my revenge plan. First, once Jihye came back, he would search everywhere for me. Halle promised to keep my secret, but I knew she could slip any time. Second, if Jihye found out Halle was spending wildly, he would freeze her money. Then my plan to use debt to trap her would be gone. Third, the mystery letter sender was still watching. That made everything more uncertain. With 3 pressures, I almost gave up. Toritani saw my doubt. He mixed a chili cocktail for me. He said, "Revenge needs courage." His words lit my fire again. I started to think like a detective. 2 threat letters, one made with paper cuts, perfect. The other printed, full of mistakes. Wally's name was spelled wrong. Jihye's name had no last name. Only close people would call him that. And the writer used a female voice. So the mystery person must be a woman close to Jihye, but not close to Halle. At the same time, Jihye rushed back to the company headquarters. When his co-workers saw him, they were shocked. He looked old and tired, and he hid in the bathroom, hoping for a message from me. But the text came from Halle. He was crushed. I made my move. I cut my old name from the letter. I recorded a video with the rest and asked Toritani to give it to Jihye. In the video, I said I was forced by the mystery person, that I had to leave him. I hinted the person was a woman around him. I begged him to find the truth so we could be together again. After that, Jihye was full of energy. He swore to find the one behind it. Toritani suggested he be the contact for safety. Jihye agreed. The job to find the mystery person was now his. That left me free to keep destroying Halle. Soon, Jihye started checking his co-workers. There were 3 women close to him. Sandy, over 50. Annie, shy and quiet. Lisa, young and pretty. While he was watching them, Halle came to complain to me. She said Jihye was different this time. He ignored her dinner. He only asked about the 500,000 yen bill. Luckily, I told her before. Say it was for a friend. Jihye didn't fully believe. He warned her. If she wasted money again, he would divorce her. Halle swore the friend would pay in 2 days. To fill the hole, she decided to go back to her old job. Last time, a client gave her 100,000 yen. She thought money was easy. I sneered in silence. She rushed to meet a man in the park. But after lunch, he gave her only 15,000 yen. He even asked for a kiss for 5,000 more. Halle was furious. She grabbed the money and stormed off. I filmed it all. At home, she begged the agent for another client. She wanted a rich and decent man like last time. Soon, one came, but he pulled a suitcase to a hotel. She stopped him, said she was not that kind. He said it was only dinner. For money, she followed. I watched from afar, smiling. After dinner, he gave her 50,000 yen. Then, he waved more cash. He said, "Want more? Then listen to me." Halle hesitated, but she changed into the maid outfit he brought. Then he pushed further. He promised 500,000 yen if she gave in. She didn't want to, but thinking of her debt, she forced herself to nod. I waited outside the hotel for a long time. She didn't come out. I thought she gave up everything for money and left. But I didn't know. Right after I left, she broke free. She grabbed 100,000 yen and ran away. At home, she was full of regret. She couldn't believe she fell this low. She stared at the money. Then, she decided to tell Jihye. She bet he wouldn't leave her. Sure enough, when Jihye came back, Halle cried like an actress. She said she was lonely and spent to fill her heart. She used 500,000 yen. This time, she won. Jihye forgave her. He even blamed himself. Next day, Jihei checked his co-workers. Sandy was simple, no tricks. Annie was shy. She blushed when talking. Lisa spent money like Huali and asked too much about his life. Jihei thought Lisa was the one. He told Toritani. Toritani told me. I also thought Lisa was most likely. But then a new letter came. It said since I hadn't broken up with Jihei, the sender was angry. Tomorrow at 7, they would call me. If I didn't end it, they would expose me and my plan. I chose to fight back. When the mystery call came, I would have Jihei call Lisa. If she didn't answer, then it was her. Next day, Jihei said goodbye to co-workers and went back. At 7, the mystery call came. The voice was fake. I signaled Toritani. He told Jihei to call Lisa. She answered, so she was clear. Sandy was in a meeting, so she was clear too. That left only one answer. The mystery person was Annie. I went to her directly. She looked at me and said,
志村葵。やっぱり脅迫状を出したのはあなたなんですね。
To my shock, Annie had always liked Jihei. Now the question is, who will be my next target in this revenge? To completely destroy my ex-husband Jihei, I set a trap and lured him in. Just as he tried to cross the line, his co-worker Annie, who always liked him, suddenly walked in. She saw it and was crushed. But Jihei never thought I had already hidden a tiny camera inside a pen, facing right at us. The whole thing was secretly recorded. Soon, I posted the video online. The company exploded. No one could believe it. The man who looked so decent in public was actually like this behind closed doors. When he got home, there was a sign at the door that said, "Grave of a Cheater." The door was covered in nasty words. While he tried to wipe it off, villagers gathered around to watch and laugh. He rushed inside, but the door was covered with his cheating photos. He ripped them down in panic. Inside, prank calls started coming in. His social accounts were flooded with insults and threats. He thought he was being watched and searched for hidden cameras like crazy, but he found nothing. In the end, he broke down. He never knew this was all part of my plan with Annie. Yesterday, I finally confirmed the person sending letters was Annie. At first, she denied it, until I showed her the voice changer as proof. Then she admitted it, and begged me not to tell Jihei. She said she liked Jihei for years. The letters were to protect him. Since he was sent away because of rumors, she worried about him. So she wanted to find the other woman and push her away. She tried to track down Jihei's ex-wife, but I had already moved. The apartment manager told her I had bandages all over my face when I moved out, so she guessed I had surgery. She searched all the clinics and quickly confirmed it. Then she found my new place and saw me working with Toritani to target Jihei. That's why she sent the letters, hoping I would stop. After hearing this, I told her my whole story. Annie pitied me, but still couldn't stand Jihei suffering. She wanted to tell him everything. I had no choice but to kneel down. I begged her to wait. I promised when I finished my revenge on Huali, I would tell Jihei the truth. At last, Annie agreed. I knew, to bring her fully to my side, she had to see Jihei and Huali's real faces, so I asked Huali out and arranged Annie to listen nearby. That's when I found out Huali had already told Jihei about the $500,000 debt, and he forgave her. She proudly said, as long as she acts weak, Jihei will always be her money machine. Before leaving, she told me I should also find a rich man and not waste my looks. Annie was shocked. She finally saw the truth of Jihei's good wife. I seized the moment and I moved closer to Jihei on purpose. I told Annie to watch from outside. Jihei pounced on me like a hungry wolf. Annie saw it and lost all hope. She turned and walked away. Jihei panicked and begged me to convince Annie to keep quiet. I pretended to agree, but went straight to tell Annie. She realized Jihei only cared about his reputation. From that moment, she gave up on him and chose to join me in revenge. With her help, I posted the video, and she reported company reactions to me. Soon, Jihei lost everything. He was suspended and had his pay cut. When the news spread, Huali rushed to see me, but she wasn't worried about Jihei. She was worried about losing her money. Hearing this, I smiled coldly. A darker plan came to mind. I bragged in front of her, saying I had a new rich boyfriend. Her jealousy burned at once. I pushed her further, telling her to find an even richer man and dump Jihei like trash. She took the bait. The next day, I took her to a luxury party. I told her, everyone here makes over 100 million yen a year. Her eyes lit up instantly. When she was about to scan the code to enter, I bumped her on purpose. A man named Edison caught her just in time. She froze, her heart racing. I recognized him right away. He was the CEO of a famous Japanese internet company. Huali couldn't sit still anymore. With my setup, she quickly connected with Edison, but she didn't know this man was actually a notorious player in the industry. I thought my new plan had started perfectly, but I never expected this pawn, Edison, would become the biggest twist in my revenge. To get back at the woman who stole my husband, I decided to set her up. I introduced her to Edison, a married man and a famous playboy. I wanted her to live in the shadows, forever as someone's secret. Sure enough, in just a few minutes, she threw herself at him. After the party, she rushed to brag to me, saying Edison was rich and amazing. Driven by her pride, she wanted to see my so-called rich boyfriend to prove her taste was better. Just as I expected, I suggested a double date 2 days later. She agreed right away, already forgetting about Jihei. At that moment, Jihei was half alive in a hospital bed, clutching my photo day and night. Back at my apartment, I worried about who could play my rich boyfriend. Then my eyes landed on Toritani's picture. As I hesitated, my old self appeared in my mind, reminding me that Toritani liked me. I could use him, but I refused. He already knew Halle, and more importantly, I didn't want to hurt him. The next day, I hired a stage actor named Mike. He would play my boyfriend. To make it real, I even wrote a guidebook, The 10 Rules of a Rich Heir. I planned every little detail. Mike was impressed and promised to fully cooperate. We did a practice date, but Toritani happened to see us. He saw me smiling so brightly and thought Mike was really my boyfriend. He left heartbroken. Later, he asked to meet. When I got his text, I felt torn, but I still went. At the meeting, he held back his feelings. He said I was his most important friend, and he wanted to fight by my side. He told me his past, a cheating father, and a mother who ended her life in despair. Since then, he hated betrayal. He truly wanted to help me. I was touched, but I stayed silent. When he walked away, I almost reached out to stop him, but I didn't. I couldn't drag him into my pain. Soon, the double date came. Halle dressed up beautifully. When she saw my rich boyfriend, she felt smug. She thought Edison was way better. Then Edison arrived in a flashy car. Halle's vanity exploded. She bragged like crazy in front of me, but she didn't know the higher she climbed, the harder she would fall. At dinner, I took pictures of her and Edison together. Mike pretended to mess his lips with food, and I wiped them sweetly. I even showed off a limited edition bag. She was shocked when she heard Mike flew to Italy just to buy it for me. Her jealousy burned. Edison noticed the bag and asked Mike about his job. When Mike said investor, Halle broke inside. I added fuel to the fire, asking Mike about a honeymoon trip. That hit her where it hurt. She never had a wedding or honeymoon with Jihei. Halle lost her appetite and ran to the restroom. I signaled Edison to follow. As expected, she acted shy, hugged his waist, and suggested they go to a hotel. Edison agreed at once. I knew then my plan was working. After dinner, I paid Mike, but he stopped me and took me to his theater. He wanted me to know him better. I realized he had fallen for me. Then he got a call. His face changed, and he told me he couldn't act as my boyfriend anymore. His company signed a big ad deal, and his posters would be everywhere. If Edison or Halle saw it, his cover would be blown. I froze, but when I checked the contract, most ads were overseas, so I begged him to continue. He thought for a moment, then agreed. That night, Halle called me. She proudly said she had taken Edison and would soon marry Rich. I sneered. Her nightmare was only beginning. The next day, she complained that Edison never checked his phone in front of her. If he did, he turned away. She felt uneasy. If she found out Edison had a family, my plan would fail. So I suggested another double date. I would help her test him. On the day of the date, I deliberately sent Halle away and let her hide in the dark. She listened as Edison said he was dating for marriage. Her doubts vanished. She was overjoyed, but she didn't know I told Edison her suspicions in advance. We played her together. When she left, Edison showed his real face. He grabbed me and said I was the one he truly liked. He said I could come to him anytime. He was a total player. After dinner, Halle showed off the earrings Edison gave her. I finally felt relieved. But then, disaster hit. On the street, people were handing out flyers, and on the posters was Mike's face. I froze. So did he. Edison picked up a flyer, walked over with suspicion, and asked. Mike stammered, unable to explain. And me? I stood there, unsure how to face this sudden crisis. Her husband was a total player, and his poor wife was standing on a rooftop, ready to end everything. I happened to pass by and pulled her back just in time. When I saw her body covered in bruises, I was shocked. She told me her husband had cheated countless times and had been hurting her for years. And that man was none other than Edison, the one I personally introduced to my ex-husband's mistress, Wally. That moment, two thoughts came to me. I'd help this woman escape her nightmare, and I'd make Wally pay. Her name was Mandy. From her, I learned Edison only married her for her family's money. Once he got what he wanted, he showed his real face, cheating, lying, and treating her like dirt. She had lost all hope. I held her hand and said, "Let's work together." Actually, before this, I had already started my revenge plan. To make Wally jealous, I paid an actor named Mike to pretend to be my rich boyfriend. Everything went perfectly, until one stupid ad flyer ruined it. Edison grew suspicious and confronted us in public. Mike reacted fast. He admitted he was an actor and said he only did it because he liked me. Then he turned to me, apologized, and walked away. Wally laughed like she'd won. I ignored her and ran after Mike. She thought I was angry, but I was actually thanking him. We fooled them both, but our deal was over. Before leaving, Mike asked me, "Did you do this just to piss her off?" I didn't tell him the truth. I only said, "I hate her." Even without Mike, my revenge wouldn't stop. When I came back, Wally immediately started mocking me again. She pretended to care, but her words cut deep. She suggested going to Toritani's bar. Before I could react, she dragged me there. The moment she saw Toritani, she started mocking me again. She told my story like it was some kind of joke. Toritani's eyes widened. He realized I never had a new boyfriend. It was all part of my revenge. Edison tried to stop her, but that only made her louder. I just gave a cold smile and said nothing. After they left, Toritani offered to help me. He wanted to fight back with me, but I refused. I already had my own plan, and I didn't want him dragged into it. Back home, I opened the closet and looked at the photo of Wally and Edison. The old me appeared again. She told me to let it go. I smiled, picked up the phone, and dialed a number. It was Edison's wife, Mandy. Everything started 2 months ago. Back then, I was helping Wally find a new man when I accidentally met the flirtatious Edison. I found out he was already married and had several women on the side. What shocked me more was his wife Mandy knew it all and said nothing. I followed her out of curiosity. One day, I saw her standing on a rooftop, ready to give up on everything. I rushed to save her, and that's when I saw the bruises on her body. Right then, I decided to join forces with her. We collected every bit of evidence of Edison's affairs and violence. We took it to a magazine and gave everything to the media. Within days, Edison's scandals exploded online. His company's stock crashed. The board fired him. He was furious and tried to lash out again. But Mandy wasn't the same woman anymore. She held up the evidence and forced him to sign the divorce papers. When I got her message saying it was done, I smiled. Revenge was working. But then, Wally came to see me. She was holding the gossip news about her and Edison and blamed me for introducing them. She still didn't get it. She was already in my trap. I pretended to comfort her, told her to get a divorce fast. "The media's watching," I said. "If they find out you're married, you're done." She panicked and asked, "But even if I divorce him, people will still know." I smiled and said, "Just change your household record. No one will know. Wait till the storm dies down. Cry a little, play the victim, and your ex-husband will forgive you." She believed me instantly. That night, she filed for divorce. Before leaving, she said I reminded her of a girl from school. Ugly, smart, annoying, the one she bullied every day. I froze. That girl was me. While she went to file the papers, I texted the paparazzi waiting outside. The moment she came out, he filmed everything. I pretended to protect her, but inside, I was thrilled. When we got home, she broke down, crying. I told her to hide for a while. She called her father, hoping to stay with him, but instead of comfort, she got yelled at. He said he wanted nothing to do with her, because the affair photos had already been mailed to him by me. The next day, Wally was completely destroyed. I told her to rent a small place and lay low, but she insisted on living in a luxury apartment, saying, "Someone like me deserves the best." I smiled politely, because I knew her debt would bury her soon. Meanwhile, Edison was drowning in lawsuits and bills from his ex-wife. At first, he thought Mandy was behind it, but then he realized she couldn't have planned all this. Someone else was pulling the strings. He ordered his secretary to investigate. Soon, he found that Mandy had done nothing suspicious, but Wally was often with me. Then the secretary remembered I was the one who first introduced Edison to Wally. That moment, Edison finally saw the truth. I was the one behind it all. He decided to strike back. He called Halle, telling her he'd found the person ruining their lives and wanted to meet in person. And me? I had no idea. I was too caught up in the thrill of my revenge finally working. But what I didn't know was, the real danger was already closing in on me. She did it for just 100,000 yen. She spent the night with a man in his 50s. Because she performed well, he even gave her an extra 50,000 yen as a tip. Halle was over the moon, hugging the man and promising to come whenever he called. And me? I watched everything from the shadows, the corner of my mouth curling into a cold smile. A few days earlier, Edison had already found out the person who ruined his life was me. He rushed to confront Halle, but that stupid woman didn't believe him. In her eyes, I was just a harmless, loyal friend, a woman with no tricks, no ambition, someone who would never hurt her. She even scolded Edison, told him never to suspect me again. Edison said nothing, but I knew he wouldn't stop there. Soon, his secretary dropped a shocking secret. Wally's marriage was built on someone else's pain. Her husband, Ji-hae, once abandoned his first wife for her. After that, his ex-wife vanished without a trace. Coincidentally, she had the same last name as me. The secretary guessed that I was Ji-hae's ex-wife. Edison agreed. He decided to check it himself. Meanwhile, Wally came to me for help again. Because of her vanity, she rented a luxury apartment and bought expensive furniture. Now she was broke. She begged me to find her a high-paying part-time job. I smiled and said yes. Then I arranged a job handing out flyers. The moment she saw it, she called it cheap and humiliating. But with no other choice, she still went. As soon as she hit the streets, people laughed at her, pushed her, insulted her. She finally snapped, threw the flyers down, and stormed off. Everything was going exactly as I planned. I knew she wouldn't last long, and when she quit, she'd return to her old ways. I was right. Soon she called her old boss at the rental girlfriend agency, asking for some high-end clients. But the boss turned her down, saying her reputation was too damaged. That excuse, it was one I told him to use. With no options left, she started looking for clients online. I watched her every move, knowing her downfall had begun. Soon, she found a client, a greasy man in his 50s. He immediately hinted at spending the night, offering 100,000 yen each time. Wally cursed under her breath, saying she'd never do such a thing. But before she reached the apartment, she got a lawyer's notice from Ji-hae's parents. They wanted 2 million yen in compensation and ordered her to move out of Ji-hae's apartment. She panicked again and came to me. I pretended to think, then told her she could hire a lawyer if she had money. She forced a smile, but I knew she was trapped. In the end, she went to that man's apartment. The next morning, she not only got her 100,000 yen, but also an extra 50,000 as a tip. That was the moment she completely fell. And I just waited to see her destroy herself. But before I could celebrate, Edison showed up at my door. He had photos of me before and after surgery, and a report proving I was Ji-hae's ex-wife. He made 3 demands. First, I had to publicly apologize. Second, I had to pay him 5 million yen. Third, I had to spend a night with him. To protect my revenge plan, I pretended to agree and asked for 3 weeks to prepare the money. But he saw through me. He gave me only 1 week. Before leaving, he threatened me again. If I lied, he would make his ex-wife, Mandy, suffer too. To protect her, I had no choice but to agree. But what I didn't know was, he had another plan. He wanted to record me secretly, then leak the video online. He wanted me to taste the same humiliation. When his secretary learned that Edison was using his ex-wife as leverage, he was disgusted. So he told everything to Mandy. After hearing it, Mandy immediately went to Toritani for help. Toritani agreed right away. He pretended to hate me and invited Edison to his bar, saying he also wanted revenge on me. Edison was cautious at first, but when he heard that most of Toritani's clients had switched to my side, he believed him. Then, under Toritani's careful lead, Edison confessed everything, including the 3 conditions he used to threaten me. Toritani recorded it all, then held up his phone with a calm smile. He warned Edison, either give up the plan or the recording goes to the police. Edison just laughed, saying that wasn't real evidence. Toritani smirked. Then maybe your new company should hear it, he said. That company was a global top 500 firm. The moment Edison heard that, his face turned pale. He had no choice but to give up. While all this was happening, I was planning my next move. Toritani texted me, asking to meet. When I arrived, he told me everything he'd done. Then, he held my hand and confessed his feelings again. But I turned away. I didn't want to drag anyone else into my hate. The next day, I saw Wally finishing her date from afar. It was time. I invited her to a cafe. I took out an envelope from my bag. She thought it was a gift. But when she opened it, she saw a photo of me and Ji-hae being close. Her face twisted with rage. She demanded to know what it meant. I smiled. I'm Jihei's ex-wife, I said. I had surgery and came back just to make you pay. She froze. I kept talking. I've written everything into a novel. Every cruel thing you did. From how you bullied me in school to how you stole my husband. The digital version goes live at midnight. The printed one hits the shelves tomorrow morning. I stood up.
じゃあね。さようならかりん。
And walked away. Behind me, Huali sat motionless. For the first time, she realized the pain she caused others was coming back for her. But I also knew one thing. A woman like her wouldn't go down quietly. The real storm was only beginning. Huali sold herself for the first time. She earned 100,000 yen plus a 50,000 yen tip. The client was full of praise. She even started to enjoy the pleasure of her own downfall. But the second time, things changed. She only got 20,000 yen, and the client complained right to her face. He said her service was bad and worse. She didn't look like her photos at all. Furious, Huali walked to the mirror. When she saw the woman staring back, she froze. Her skin was rough, her face covered in marks, and her hair was falling out in handfuls. The once glamorous, rich beauty was gone. She broke down crying, not knowing that all this was the price she had to pay for stealing my husband. From the moment she became a rental lover, my revenge was almost complete. I revealed everything. I told her who I really was, and I turned my entire plan into a novel. It went online at midnight. The price, just 1,160 yen, cheap enough for everyone to buy. The cover showed my face, before and after surgery. Overnight, it exploded in popularity. The whole country was talking about me. Everyone was on my side, but Edison was furious because the cheating, violent man in my story was him. His name became a national joke. Toritani and Annie were worried about me. They said I'd gone too far, that people might turn against me, but I had no regrets. Of course, Jihei also read my book. I even mailed him a copy myself. At first, he was confused, but when he saw the photo inside, he froze. He finally realized his ex-wife, the one he abandoned, had come back for revenge. He couldn't handle it. He ripped the pages apart, stuffed them into his mouth, and swallowed them like a madman. Soon after, the nurse sent him to the psychiatric ward, but compared to him, Wally's life was even worse. Her scandals became daily entertainment for netizens. Even her apartment was surrounded by gossip streamers. Wherever she went, people followed and recorded. Her heels were bleeding, but she called her father for help. He picked up, said one sentence, "Our relationship is over," then hung up. That shattered the last bit of pride she had left. That night, she cried until only one eye had tears. That means a kind of imbalance could cause early aging. She had no family left. She tried to stay in a hotel, but her credit card was frozen. Staring at her empty wallet, Wally made up an excuse and walked away. Of course, it was all my doing. I had already told Jihei's parents to freeze her bank accounts through court, but she still didn't give up. She started calling her sugar daddies, one by one, but every man refused her. Some afraid of scandal, some afraid their wives would find out. All of them cut ties. With nowhere to go, she hid in an internet cafe overnight. It was small, dirty, and loud. She couldn't sleep at all. The next morning, she went back to her apartment to sell her bags for cash, but reporters were blocking the door. She forced her way in, grabbed a luxury bag Jihei once gave her. It had cost 4 million yen. Now the pawn shop only offered 400,000. Frustrated and mumbling about how unfair it was, just then, her phone rang. It was Jihei's parents' lawyer. He told her she lost the lawsuit. She had to pay 2 million yen immediately. Her 400,000 yen was gone in an instant. She went back to the internet cafe, completely defeated. But to survive, she re-registered a dating profile, ready to sell herself again. This time, she only got 20,000 yen, and the client said she looked ugly. Broken and desperate, she booked a beauty treatment. While waiting, she saw my live stream pop up. She clicked it. The comments were full of hate toward her. She was shaking with anger. She created a fake account named 3A and pretended to be her own friend. She defended herself, saying she never bullied me. Some viewers started to doubt my story, but I was ready. I opened a suitcase on camera. Inside were all the receipts of her crimes. Photos, recordings, proof, every piece of it undeniable. Then I noticed something. That 3A account kept calling my name. It had to be her, so I sent a live call request. The audience cheered her on to answer. Flustered, she slipped up and exposed her identity. I smiled coldly. I told her to meet me tomorrow, face to face, to end this once and for all. She hesitated for a moment, then agreed. Her sudden calm made me uneasy. Toritani also sensed danger. He begged me not to go, but I was determined. I would see this revenge to the end. What I didn't know was, at that same moment, Wally had contacted a human trafficker, and my revenge story was about to turn into a deadly game. Halle tried to have me kidnapped by a trafficker to get revenge. She thought she could control everything. She did not know this revenge had become a two-way hell. That day, I baited her to meet in private via live stream. Toritani begged me not to take the risk. He said the result was already enough, but I had gone too far. The dark side of me had taken over. This revenge was now do or die. I went back to the flat and called Halle. We set a meet 2 days later near a restaurant. She agreed too quickly. I felt uneasy, but the arrow was already released. On her side, she had already contacted the traffickers. She flirted and confirmed the plan again and again. At that moment, she truly lost her mind. The next day, Annie came to see me. She said she had a bad feeling about Halle. To calm her, I told her the whole plan. I planned to use proof of Halle's bullying to lure her to the flat. I had cameras set up there. I would stream the talk live. If she admitted her crimes, her life would be ruined. Annie was quiet for a moment. She took an envelope from her bag. Inside was a charm. Toritani had asked her to give it to me. He wanted me to be safe. That night, I checked the cameras. The dark me appeared again. She told me to prepare a B plan. My B plan was a knife in my bag. Old me whispered to finish it in one cut, but I would not go that far unless there was no choice. I calmed myself and recorded a will video. Next morning, I took the charm and went to the meeting. At the same time, Annie skipped work to watch my live stream with Toritani. Right then, a glass fell and broke. In Japan, a glass breaking in the morning is a bad omen. Soon after, I put my phone down. A black SUV rushed up. I was pulled into the car before I could react. The traffickers were inside. When I turned, I saw Halle in the car. She smiled. I realized she was the mastermind. They blindfolded me and took me to an abandoned warehouse. They tied me to a chair. Halle mocked me and slapped me. She said I would pay in blood. The trafficker warned her to be gentle. He said, "She is pretty. Don't ruin her face." Halle said she had arranged to sell me overseas, but first she wanted me to live stream and clear her name. I refused. She slapped me again. She threatened pain and torture if I did not cooperate. Then an idea came to me. Toritani waited for my live stream. There was no signal. He grew anxious. Then he got a timed video from me. In the video I said, "If I do not come to the bar by 7, something bad happened." I told him to be happy and move on. I said meeting him was my luck. Toritani watched with tears. He ran out to find me. Meanwhile, I pretended to agree and offered to live stream from my phone. Halle rifled through my bag. She found the knife. I had left it where she would see it on purpose. I wanted to make her furious. She thought I planned to strike first. She grabbed the knife and lunged at me. The trafficker rushed in to stop her. "She's valuable. Don't hurt her," he shouted. Halle trembled with anger. The trafficker snapped, and she instantly backed down. I used the moment to bargain. "I will trade my book royalties for my life," I said. The trafficker's eyes lit up. Halle tried to charm him, but he pushed her aside. He untied me. I stood up and walked to Halle. I laughed and mocked her. She lost control and grabbed a knife and charged. In the scuffle, the trafficker was hit and collapsed, badly hurt. Halle looked at the blood with no shame. She blamed me for everything. I stayed calm. The dark me surfaced again. I provoked her more and more. I pushed her to lose control. At last, she totally lost her mind and came at me with the knife. Right then, Toritani appeared. He stepped in front of me and took the hit. He collapsed in my arms, and I nearly broke down. When Halle came back to her senses, she was trembling, sat the floor. I asked Toritani how he found me. He told me to show the charm. I opened it and found a tracker inside. Then Toritani fainted. I called for help. Later, Halle was arrested for causing serious injury and illegal detention. Her future would be behind bars. I tore up the wedding photo of Halle and Jihei. I packed a pot of clover and left the flat. I finally said goodbye to the past. My revenge blew up online. I stayed in the city. I ran a bar with Toritani after he left the hospital. When he kissed me softly, I knew it was over. One day, while potting clover, I saw a little girl pushed down. I remembered my own childhood bullying. I gave the girl a 4-leaf clover. I told her to speak up and be brave. Don't let pain last a lifetime. In that moment, I learned the truth. True redemption is not revenge. True healing is learning to let go.